After this, Soyen never slept again in the afternoon. Our schoolmaster used to take a nap every afternoon, related a disciple of Soyen Shaku. We children asked him why he did it, and he told us, "I go to dreamland to meet the old sages just as Confucius did." When Confucius slept, he would dream of ancient sages and later tell his followers about them. It was extremely hot one day, so some of us took a nap. Our schoolmaster scolded us. "We went to dreamland to meet the ancient sages, the same as Confucius did," we explained. "What was the message from those sages?" our schoolmaster demanded. One of us replied, "We went to dreamland and met the sages and asked them if our schoolmaster came there every afternoon, but they said they had never seen any such fellow." Joshu began the study of Zen when he was 60 years old and continued until he was 80 when he realized Zen. He taught from the age of 80 until he was 120. A student once asked him, "If I haven't anything in my mind, what shall I do?" Joshu replied, "Throw it out." "But if I haven't anything, how can I throw it out?" continued the questioner. "Well," said Joshu, "then carry it out." When Mamiya, who later became a well-known preacher, went to a teacher for personal guidance, he was asked to explain the sound of one hand. Mamiya concentrated upon what the sound of one hand might be. "You're not working hard enough," his teacher told him. "You are too attached to food, wealth, things, and that sound. It would be better if you died. That would solve the problem." The next time Mamiya appeared before his teacher, he was again asked what he had to show regarding the sound of one hand. Mamiya at once fell over as if he were dead. "You're dead, all right," observed the teacher. "But how about that sound?" "I haven't solved that yet," replied Mamiya, looking up. "Dead men do not speak," said the teacher. "Get out." Tosui was a well-known Zen teacher of his time. He had lived in several temples and taught in various provinces. The last temple he visited accumulated so many adherents that Tosui told them he was going to quit the lecture business entirely. He advised them to disperse and to go wherever they desired. After that, no one could find any trace of him. 3 years later, one of his disciples discovered him living with some beggars under a bridge in Kyoto. He at once implored Tosui to teach him. "If you can do as I do for even a couple of days, I might," Tosui replied. So the former disciple dressed as a beggar and spent a day with Tosui. The following day, one of the beggars died. Tosui and his pupil carried the body off at midnight and buried it on a mountainside. After that, they returned to their shelter under the bridge. Tosui slept soundly the remainder of the night, but the disciple could not sleep. When morning came, Tosui said, "We do not have to beg food today. Our dead friend has left some over there." But the disciple was unable to eat a single bite of it. "I've said you could not do as I," concluded Tosui. "Get out of here and do not bother me again." When Bankei held his seclusion weeks of meditation, pupils from many parts of Japan came to attend. During one of these gatherings, a pupil was caught stealing. The matter was reported to Bankei with the request that the culprit be expelled. Bankei ignored the case. Later, the pupil was caught in a similar act, and again Bankei disregarded the matter. This angered the other pupils, who drew up a petition asking for the dismissal of the thief, stating that otherwise they would leave in a body. When Bankei had read the petition, he called everyone before him. "You are wise brothers," he told them. "You know what is right and what is not right. You may go somewhere else to study if you wish. But this poor brother does not even know right from wrong. Who will teach him if I do not? I'm going to keep him here, even if all the rest of you leave." A torrent of tears cleansed the face of the brother who had stolen. All desire to steal had vanished. During the Kamakura period, Shinkan studied Tendai 6 years and then studied Zen 7 years. Then he went to China and contemplated Zen for 13 years more. When he returned to Japan, many desired to interview him and asked obscure questions. But when Shinkan received visitors, which was infrequently, he seldom answered their questions. One day, a 50-year-old student of enlightenment said to Shinkan, "I have studied the Tendai school of thought since I was a little boy, but one thing in it I cannot understand. Tendai claims that even the grass and trees will become enlightened. To me, this seems very strange." "Of what use is it to discuss how grass and trees become enlightened?" asked Shinkan. "The question is how you yourself can become so. Did you ever consider that? I never thought of it in that way, marveled the old man. Then go home and think it over, finished Shinkan. The Buddhist nun known as Ryonen was born in 1797. She was a granddaughter of the famous Japanese warrior Shingen. Her poetical genius and alluring beauty were such that at 17 she was serving the empress as one of the ladies of the court. Even at such a youthful age, fame awaited her. The beloved empress died suddenly, and Ryonen's hopeful dreams vanished. She became acutely aware of the impermanency of life in this world. It was then that she desired to study Zen. Her relatives disagreed, however, and practically forced her into marriage. With a promise that she might become a nun after she had borne 3 children, Ryonen assented. Before she was 25, she had accomplished this condition. Then her husband and relatives could no longer dissuade her from her desire. She shaved her head, took the name of Ryonen, which means to realize clearly, and started on her pilgrimage. She came to the city of Edo and asked Tetsugyu to accept her as a disciple. At one glance, the master rejected her because she was too beautiful. Ryonen then went on to another master, Hakuo. Hakuo refused her for the same reason, saying that her beauty would only make trouble. Ryonen obtained a hot iron and placed it against her face. In a few moments, her beauty had vanished forever. Hakuo then accepted her as a disciple. Commemorating this occasion, Ryonen wrote a poem on the back of a little mirror. In the service of my empress, I burned incense to perfume my exquisite clothes. Now, as a homeless mendicant, I burn my face to enter a Zen temple. When Ryonen was about to pass from this world, she wrote another poem. 66 times, these eyes beheld the changing scene of autumn. I have said enough about moonlight. Ask no more. Only listen to the voice of pines and cedars when no wind stirs. The cook monk, Dairyo, at Bankai's monastery decided that he would take good care of his old teacher's health and give him only fresh miso, a paste of soybeans mixed with wheat and yeast that often ferments. Bankei, noticing that he was being served better miso than his pupils, asked, "Who's the cook today?" Dairyo was sent before him. Bankei learned that according to his age and position, he should eat only fresh miso. So he said to the cook, "Then you think I shouldn't eat at all?" With this, he entered his room and locked the door. Dairyo, sitting outside the door, asked his teacher's pardon. Bankei would not answer. For 7 days, Dairyo sat outside and Bankei within. Finally, in desperation, an adherent called loudly to Bankei, "You may be all right, old teacher, but this young disciple here has to eat. He cannot go without food forever." At that, Bankei opened the door. He was smiling. He told Dairyo, "I insist on eating the same food as the least of my followers. When you become the teacher, I do not want you to forget this." A student of Tendai, a philosophical school of Buddhism, came to the Zen abode of Gasan as a pupil. When he was departing a few years later, Gasan warned him, "Studying the truth speculatively is useful as a way of collecting preaching material. But remember that unless you meditate constantly, your light of truth may go out." While Seisetsu was the master of Engaku in Kamakura, he required larger quarters since those in which he was teaching were overcrowded. Umezu Seibi, a merchant of Edo, decided to donate 500 pieces of gold called ryo toward the construction of a more commodious school. This money he brought to the teacher. Seisetsu said, "All right, I will take it." Umezu gave Seisetsu the sack of gold, but he was dissatisfied with the attitude of the teacher. One might live a whole year on 3 ryo, and the merchant had not even been thanked for 500. "In that sack are 500 ryo," hinted Umezu. "You told me that before," replied Seisetsu. "Even if I am a wealthy merchant, 500 ryo is a lot of money," said Umezu. "Do you want me to thank you for it?" asked Seisetsu. "You ought to," replied Umezu. "Why should I?" inquired Seisetsu. "The giver should be thankful." Taiko, a warrior who lived in Japan before the Tokugawa era, studied Chan-no-yu, tea etiquette, with Sen-no Rikyu, a teacher of that aesthetical expression of calmness and contentment. Taiko's attendant warrior, Kato, interpreted his superior's enthusiasm for tea etiquette as negligence of state affairs. so he decided to kill Sen no Rikyu. He pretended to make a social call upon the tea master, and was invited to drink tea. The master, who was well skilled in his art, saw at a glance the warrior's intention, so he invited Kato to leave his sword outside before entering the room for the ceremony, explaining that Cha no Yu represents peacefulness itself. Kato would not listen to this. "I am a warrior," he said. "I always have my sword with me. Cha no Yu or no Cha no Yu, I have my sword." "Very well. Bring your sword in and have some tea," consented Sen no Rikyu. The kettle was boiling on the charcoal fire. Suddenly, Sen no Rikyu tipped it over. Hissing steam arose, filling the room with smoke and ashes. The startled warrior ran outside. The tea master apologized. "It was my mistake. Come back in and have some tea. I have your sword here covered with ashes, and will clean it and give it to you." In this predicament, the warrior realized he could not very well kill the tea master, so he gave up the idea. Just before Ninakawa passed away, the Zen master Ikkyu visited him. "Shall I lead you on?" Ikkyu asked. Ninakawa replied, "I came here alone, and I go alone. What help could you be to me?" Ikkyu answered, "If you think you really come and go, that is your delusion. Let me show you the path on which there is no coming and no going." With his words, Ikkyu had revealed the path so clearly that Ninakawa smiled and passed away. A soldier named Nobushige came to Hakuin and asked, "Is there really a paradise and a hell?" "Who are you?" inquired Hakuin. "I am a samurai," the warrior replied. "You, a soldier?" exclaimed Hakuin. "What kind of ruler would have you as his guard? Your face looks like that of a beggar." Nobushige became so angry that he began to draw his sword, but Hakuin continued, "So you have a sword. Your weapon is probably much too dull to cut off my head." As Nobushige drew his sword, Hakuin remarked, "Here open the gates of hell." At these words, the samurai, perceiving the master's discipline, sheathed his sword and bowed. "Here open the gates of paradise," said Hakuin. A merchant bearing 50 rolls of cotton goods on his shoulders stopped to rest from the heat of the day beneath a shelter where a large stone Buddha was standing. There he fell asleep, and when he awoke, his goods had disappeared. He immediately reported the matter to the police. A judge named Ooka opened court to investigate. "That stone Buddha must have stolen the goods," concluded the judge. "He is supposed to care for the welfare of the people, but he has failed to perform his holy duty. Arrest him." The police arrested the stone Buddha and carried it into court. A noisy crowd followed the statue, curious to learn what kind of sentence the judge was about to impose. When Ooka appeared on the bench, he rebuked the boisterous audience. "What right have you people to appear before the court laughing and joking in this manner? You are in contempt of court and subject to a fine and imprisonment." The people hastened to apologize. "I shall have to impose a fine on you," said the judge, "but I will remit it, provided each one of you brings 1 roll of cotton goods to the courts within 3 days. Anyone failing to do this will be arrested." One of the rolls of cloth which the people brought was quickly recognized by the merchant as his own, and thus the thief was easily discovered. The merchant recovered his goods, and the cotton rolls were returned to the people. Once a division of the Japanese army was engaged in a sham battle, and some of the officers found it necessary to make their headquarters in Gasan's temple. Gasan told his cook, "Let the officers have only the same simple fare we eat." This made the army men angry, as they were used to very deferential treatment. One came to Gasan and said, "Who do you think we are? We are soldiers, sacrificing our lives for our country. Why don't you treat us accordingly?" Gasan answered sternly, "Who do you think we are? We are soldiers of humanity, aiming to save all sentient beings." Zenkai, the son of a samurai, journeyed to Edo and there became the retainer of a high official. He fell in love with the official's wife and was discovered. In self-defense, he slew the official. Then he ran away with the wife. Both of them later became thieves, but the woman was so greedy that Zenkai grew disgusted. Finally, leaving her, he journeyed far away to the province of Buzen, where he became a wandering mendicant. To atone for his past, Zenkai resolved to accomplish some good deed in his lifetime. Knowing of a dangerous road over a cliff that had caused the death and injury of many persons, he resolved to cut a tunnel through the mountain there. Begging food in the daytime, Zenkai worked at night digging his tunnel. When 30 years had gone by, the tunnel was 2,280 feet long, 20 feet high, and 30 feet wide. 2 years before the work was completed, the son of the official he had slain, who was a skillful swordsman, found Zenkai out and came to kill him in revenge. "I will give you my life willingly," said Zenkai. "Only let me finish this work. On the day it is completed, then you may kill me." So the son awaited the day. Several months passed, and Zenkai kept on digging. The son grew tired of doing nothing and began to help with the digging. After he had helped for more than a year, he came to admire Zenkai's strong will and character. At last, the tunnel was completed, and the people could use it to travel in safety. "Now cut off my head," said Zenkai. "My work is done." "How can I cut off my own teacher's head?" asked the younger man, with tears in his eyes. A great Japanese warrior named Nobunaga decided to attack the enemy, although he had only 1/10 the number of men the opposition commanded. He knew that he would win, but his soldiers were in doubt. On the way, he stopped at a Shinto shrine and told his men, "After I visit the shrine, I will toss a coin. If heads comes, we will win. If tails, we will lose. Destiny holds us in her hand." Nobunaga entered the shrine and offered a silent prayer. He came forth and tossed a coin. Heads appeared. His soldiers were so eager to fight that they won their battle easily. "No one can change the hand of destiny," his attendant told him after the battle. "Indeed not," said Nobunaga, showing a coin which had been doubled, with heads facing either way. Gasan instructed his adherents one day, "Those who speak against killing, and who desire to spare the lives of all conscious beings, are right. It is good to protect even animals and insects. But what about those persons who kill time? What about those who are destroying wealth and those who destroy political economy? We should not overlook them. Furthermore, what of the one who preaches without enlightenment? He is killing Buddhism." A young wife fell sick and was about to die. "I love you so much," she told her husband. "I do not want to leave you. Do not go from me to any other woman. If you do, I will return as a ghost and cause you endless trouble." Soon the wife passed away. The husband respected her last wish for the first 3 months, but then he met another woman and fell in love with her. They became engaged to be married. Immediately after the engagement, a ghost appeared every night to the man, blaming him for not keeping his promise. The ghost was clever, too. She told him exactly what had transpired between himself and his new sweetheart. Whenever he gave his fiancée a present, the ghost would describe it in detail. She would even repeat conversations, and it so annoyed the man that he could not sleep. Someone advised him to take his problem to a Zen master who lived close to the village. At length, in despair, the poor man went to him for help. "Your former wife became a ghost and knows everything you do," commented the master. "Whatever you do or say, whatever you give your beloved, she knows. She must be a very wise ghost. Really, you should admire such a ghost.
Is a little bit different
The
than
next
what
time
I
she
mean the idea
appears,
of like a metaphysical grounding relation.
Tell her that she knows so much you can hide nothing from her,
I mean,
and that if she will
like,
answer
basically,
you one
like-
question, you promise to break your engagement and remain single." "What is the question I must ask her?" inquired the man. The master replied, "Take a large handful of soybeans and ask her exactly how many beans you hold in your hand. If she cannot tell you, you will know she is only a figment of your imagination and will trouble you no longer." The next night, when the ghost appeared, the man flattered her and told her that she knew everything. "Indeed," replied the ghost, "and I know you went to see that Zen master today." "And since you know so much," demanded the man, "tell me how many beans I hold in this hand." There was no longer any ghost to answer the question. Yamaoka Teshu was a tutor of the emperor. He was also a master of fencing and a profound student of Zen. His home was the abode of vagabonds. He had but one suit of clothes, for they kept him always poor. The emperor, observing how worn his garments were, gave Yamaoka some money to buy new ones. The next time Yamaoka appeared, he wore the same old outfit. "What became of the new clothes, Yamaoka?" asked the emperor. I provided clothes for the children of your majesty, explained Yamaoka. In modern times, a great deal of nonsense is talked about masters and disciples, and about the inheritance of a master's teaching by favored pupils, entitling them to pass the truth on to their adherents. Of course, Zen should be imparted in this way from heart to heart, and in the past it was really accomplished. Silence and humility reigned rather than profession and assertion. The one who received such a teaching kept the matter hidden even after 20 years. Not until another discovered through his own need that a real master was at hand was it learned that the teaching had been imparted, and even then the occasion arose quite naturally, and the teaching made its way in its own right. Under no circumstance did the teacher even claim, "I am the successor of so-and-so." Such a claim would prove quite the contrary. The Zen master, Munan, had only one successor. His name was Shoju. After Shoju had completed his study of Zen, Munan called him into his room. "I'm getting old," he said. "And as far as I know, Shoju, you are the only one who will carry on this teaching. Here's a book. It has been passed down from master to master for 7 generations. I also have added many points according to my understanding. The book is very valuable, and I'm giving it to you to represent your successorship." "If the book is such an important thing, you had better keep it," Shoju replied. "I received your Zen without writing, and I'm satisfied with it as it is." "I know that," said Munan. "Even so, this work has been carried from master to master for 7 generations, so you may keep it as a symbol of having received the teaching. Here." The two happened to be talking before a brazier. The instant Shoju felt the book in his hands, he thrust it into the flaming coals. He had no lust for possessions. Munan, who never had been angry before, yelled, "What are you doing?" Shoju shouted back, "What are you saying?" After Kakuwa visited the emperor, he disappeared and no one knew what became of him. He was the first Japanese to study Zen in China, but since he showed nothing of it, save one note, he is not remembered for having brought Zen into his country. Kakuwa visited China and accepted the true teaching. He did not travel while he was there. Meditating constantly, he lived on a remote part of a mountain. Whenever people found him and asked him to preach, he would say a few words and then move to another part of the mountain where he could be found less easily. The emperor heard about Kakuwa when he returned to Japan, and asked him to preach Zen for his edification and that of his subjects. Kakuwa stood before the emperor in silence. He then produced a flute from the folds of his robe and blew one short note. Bowing politely, he disappeared. Circumstances arose one day which delayed preparation of the dinner of Osoto Zen master Fugai and his followers. In haste, the cook went to the garden with his curved knife and cut off the tops of green vegetables, chopped them together, and made soup, unaware that in his haste he had included part of a snake in the vegetables. The followers of Fugai thought they never had tasted such a good soup. But when the master himself found the snake's head in his bowl, he summoned the cook. "What is this?" he demanded, holding up the head of the snake. "Oh, thank you, master," replied the cook, taking the morsel and eating it quickly. Suzan, a Chinese Zen master, was asked by a student, "What is the most valuable thing in the world?" The master replied, "The head of a dead cat." "Why is the head of a dead cat the most valuable thing in the world?" inquired the student. Suzan replied, "Because no one can name its price." The pupils of the Tendai school used to study meditation before Zen entered Japan. 4 of them, who were intimate friends, promised one another to observe 7 days of silence. On the first day all were silent. Their meditation had begun auspiciously. But when night came and the oil lamps were growing dim, one of the pupils could not help exclaiming to a servant, "Fix those lamps." The second pupil was surprised to hear the first one talk. "We're not supposed to say a word," he remarked. "You two are stupid. Why did you talk?" asked the third. "I'm the only one who has not talked," concluded the fourth pupil. Zen pupils take a vow that even if they are killed by their teacher, they intend to learn Zen. Usually they cut a finger and seal their resolution with blood. In time, the vow has become a mere formality, and for this reason, the pupil who died by the hand of Aikido was made to appear a martyr, Aikido had become a severe teacher. His pupils feared him. One of them on duty striking the gong to tell the time of day missed his beats when his eye was attracted by a beautiful girl passing the temple gate. At that moment, Aikido, who was directly behind him, hit him with a stick, and the shock happened to kill him. The pupil's guardian, hearing of the accident, went directly to Aikido. Knowing that he was not to blame, he praised the master for his severe teaching. Aikido's attitude was just the same as if the pupil were still alive. After this took place, he was able to produce under his guidance more than 10 enlightened successors, a very unusual number. Ryokan devoted his life to the study of Zen. One day he heard that his nephew, despite the admonitions of relatives, was spending his money on a courtesan. Inasmuch as the nephew had taken Ryokan's place in managing the family estate and the property was in danger of being dissipated, the relatives asked Ryokan to do something about it. Ryokan had to travel a long way to visit his nephew, whom he had not seen for many years. The nephew seemed pleased to meet his uncle again and invited him to remain overnight. All night, Ryokan sat in meditation. As he was departing in the morning, he said to the young man, "I must be getting old. My hand shakes, so will you help me tie the string of my straw sandal?" The nephew helped him willingly. "Thank you," finished Ryokan. "You see, a man becomes older and feebler day by day. Take good care of yourself." Then Ryokan left, never mentioning a word about the courtesan or the complaints of the relatives. But from that morning on, the dissipations of the nephew ended.
It's not that. I mean,
A Zen student came to Bankei and complained, "Master, I have an ungovernable temper. How can I cure it?" "You have something very strange," replied Bankei. "Let me see what you have." "But just now I cannot show it to you," replied the other. "When can you show it to me?" asked Bankei. "It arises unexpectedly," replied the student. Then concluded Bankei, "It must not be your own true nature. If it were, you could show it to me at any time. When you were born, you did not have it, and your parents did not give it to you. Think that over." Hogen, a Chinese Zen teacher, lived alone in a small temple in the country. One day, 4 traveling monks appeared and asked if they might make a fire in his yard to warm themselves. While they were building the fire, Hogen heard them arguing about subjectivity and objectivity. He joined them and said, "There is a big stone. Do you consider it to be inside or outside your mind?" One of the monks replied, "From the Buddhist viewpoint, everything is an objectification of mind, so I would say that the stone is inside my mind." "Your head must feel very heavy," observed Hogen, "if you were carrying around a stone like that in your mind." A rich man asked Sengai to write something for the continued prosperity of his family so that it might be treasured from generation to generation. Sengai obtained a large sheet of paper and wrote, "Father dies, son dies, grandson dies." The rich man became angry. "I asked you to write something for the happiness of my family. Why do you make such a joke as this?" "No joke is intended," explained Sengai. "If before you yourself die, your son should die, this would grieve you greatly. If your grandson should pass away before your son, both of you would be broken-hearted. If your family, generation after generation, passes away in the order I have named, it will be the natural course of life. I call this real prosperity." A woman of Nagasaki named Kame was one of the few makers of incense burners in Japan. Such a burner is a work of art to be used only in a tea room or before a family shrine. Kame, whose father before her had been such an artist, was fond of drinking. She also smoked and associated with men most of the time. Whenever she made a little money, she gave a feast inviting artists, poets, carpenters, workers, men of many vocations and avocations. In their association, she evolved her designs. Kame was exceedingly slow in creating, but when her work was finished, it was always a masterpiece. Her burners were treasured in homes whose womenfolk never drank, smoked, or associated freely with men. The mayor of Nagasaki once requested Kame to design an incense burner for him. She delayed doing so until almost half a year had passed. At that time, the mayor, who had been promoted to office in a distant city, visited her. He urged Kame to begin work on his burner. At last, receiving the inspiration, Kame made the incense burner. After it was completed, she placed it upon a table. She looked at her mind demanded. When Bankei was preaching at Ryomon Temple, a Shinshu priest who believed in salvation through the repetition of the name of the Buddha of Love was jealous of his large audience and wanted to debate with him. Bankei was in the midst of a talk when the priest appeared, but the fellow made such a disturbance that Bankei stopped his discourse and asked about the noise. The founder of our sect, boasted the priest, had such miraculous powers that he held a brush in his hand on one bank of the river. His attendant held up a paper on the other bank, and the teacher wrote the holy name of Amida through the air. Can you do such a wonderful thing? Bankei replied lightly. Perhaps your fox can perform that trick, but that is not the manner of Zen. My miracle is that when I feel hungry, I eat, and when I feel thirsty, I drink. Yamaoka Teshu, as a young student of Zen, visited one master after another. He called upon Dokuon of Shokoku. Desiring to show his attainment, he said, "The mind, Buddha, and sentient beings, after all, do not exist. The true nature of phenomena is emptiness. There is no realization, no delusion, no sage, no mediocrity. There is no giving and nothing to be received." Dokuon, who was smoking quietly, said nothing. Suddenly he whacked Yamaoka with his bamboo pipe. This made the youth quite angry. "If nothing exists," inquired Dokuon, "where did this anger come from?" Hyakujo, the Chinese Zen master, used to labor with his pupils even at the age of 80, trimming the gardens, cleaning the grounds, and pruning the trees. The pupils felt sorry to see the old teacher working so hard, but they knew he would not listen to their advice to stop, so they hid away his tools. That day the master did not eat. The next day he did not eat, nor the next. He may be angry because we have hidden his tools, the pupils surmised. We had better put them back. The day they did, the teacher worked and ate the same as before. In the evening, he instructed them. No work, no food. Ikkyu, the Zen master, was very clever even as a boy. His teacher had a precious teacup, a rare antique. Ikkyu happened to break this cup and was greatly perplexed. Hearing the footsteps of his teacher, he held the pieces of the cup behind him. When the master appeared, Ikkyu asked, "Why do people have to die?" "This is natural," explained the older man. "Everything has to die and has just so long to live." Ikkyu, producing the shattered cup, added, "It was time for your cup to die." A Zen master named Keitan lived in the latter part of the Tokugawa era. He used to say, "There are three kinds of disciples: those who impart Zen to others, those who maintain the temples and shrines, and then there are the rice bags and the clothes hangers." Gasan expressed the same idea. When he was studying under Tekisui, his teacher was very severe. Sometimes he even beat him. Other pupils would not stand this kind of teaching and quit. Gasan remained, saying, "A poor disciple utilizes a teacher's influence. A fair disciple admires a teacher's kindness. A good disciple grows strong under a teacher's discipline." Zen teachers train their young pupils to express themselves. Two Zen temples each had a child protege. One child, going to obtain vegetables each morning, would meet the other on the way. "Where are you going?" asked the one. "I'm going wherever my feet go," the other responded. This reply puzzled the first child, who went to his teacher for help. "Tomorrow morning," the teacher told him, "when you meet that little fellow, ask him the same question. He'll give you the same answer, and then you ask him, 'Suppose you have no feet, then where are you going?' That'll fix him." The children met again the following morning. "Where are you going?" asked the first child. "I'm going wherever the wind blows," answered the other. This again nonplussed the youngster, who took his defeat to his teacher. "Ask him where he's going if there's no wind," suggested the teacher. The next day the children met a third time. "Where are you going?" asked the first child. "I'm going to market to buy vegetables," the other replied. Tangen had studied with Sengai since childhood. When he was 20, he wanted to leave his teacher and visit others for comparative study, but Sengai would not permit this. Every time Tangen suggested it, Sengai would give him a rap on the head. Finally, Tangen asked an elder brother to coax permission from Sengai. This the brother did, and then reported to Tangen. It is arranged. I have fixed it for you to start on your pilgrimage at once. Tongan went to Sengai to thank him for his permission. The master answered by giving him another rap. When Tongan related this to his elder brother, the other said, "What is the matter? Sengai has no business giving permission and then changing his mind. I'll tell him so." And off he went to see the teacher. "I did not cancel my permission," said Sengai. "I just wish to give him one last smack over the head. For when he returns, he'll be enlightened, and I will not be able to reprimand him again." Matajuro Yagyo was the son of a famous swordsman. His father, believing that his son's work was too mediocre to anticipate mastership, disowned him. So Matajuro went to Mount Futaba, and there found the famous swordsman Banzo. But Banzo confirmed the father's judgment. "You wish to learn swordsmanship under my guidance?" asked Banzo. "You cannot fulfill the requirements." "But if I work hard, how many years will it take me to become a master?" persisted the youth. "The rest of your life," replied Banzo. "I cannot wait that long," explained Matajuro. "I am willing to pass through any hardship if only you will teach me. If I become your devoted servant, how long might it be?" "Oh, maybe 10 years, Banzo relented. "My father's getting old and soon I must take care of him," continued Matajuro. "If I work far more intensely, how long would it take me?" "Oh, maybe 30 years, said Banzo. "Well, why is that?" asked Matajuro. "First you say 10 and now 30 years. I will undergo any hardship to master this art in the shortest time." "Well," said Banzo, "in that case, you'll have to remain with me for 70 years. A man in such a hurry as you are to get results seldom learns quickly." "Very well," declared the youth, understanding at last that he was being rebuked for impatience. "I agree." Matajuro was told never to speak of fencing and never to touch a sword. He cooked for his master, washed the dishes, made his bed, cleaned the yard, cared for the garden, all without a word of swordsmanship. 3 years passed. Still Matajuro labored on. Thinking of his future, he was sad. He had not even begun to learn the art to which he had devoted his life. But one day Banzo crept up behind him and gave him a terrific blow with a wooden sword. The following day, when Matajuro was cooking rice, Banjo again sprang upon him unexpectedly. After that, day and night, Matajuro had to defend himself from unexpected thrusts. Not a moment passed in any day that he did not have to think of the taste of Banzo's sword. He learned so rapidly, he brought smiles to the face of his master. Matajuro became the greatest swordsman in the land. Encho was a famous storyteller. His tales of love stirred the hearts of his listeners. When he narrated a story of war, it was as if the listeners themselves were on the field of battle. One day Encho met Yamaoka Teshu, a layman who had almost embraced masterhood in Zen. "I understand," said Yamaoka, "you are the best storyteller in our land, and that you make people cry or laugh at will. Tell me my favorite story of the Peach Boy. When I was a little tot, I used to sleep beside my mother, and she often related this legend. In the middle of the story, I would fall asleep. Tell it to me just as my mother did." Encho dared not attempt to do this. He requested time to study. Several months later, he went to Yamaoka and said, "Please give me the opportunity to tell you the story." "Some other day," answered Yamaoka. Encho was keenly disappointed. He studied further and tried again. Yamaoka rejected him many times. When Encho would start to talk, Yamaoka would stop him, saying, "You're not yet like my mother." It took Encho 5 years to be able to tell Yamaoka the legend as his mother had told it to him. In this way, Yamaoka imparted Zen to Encho. Many pupils were studying meditation under the Zen master Sengai. One of them used to arise at night, climb over the temple wall, and go to town on a pleasure jaunt. Sengai, inspecting the dormitory quarters, found this pupil missing one night and also discovered the high stool he had used to scale the wall. Sengai removed the stool and stood there in its place. When the wanderer returned, not knowing that Sengai was the stool, he put his feet on the master's head and jumped down into the grounds. Discovering what he had done, he was aghast. Sengai said, "It is very chilly in the early morning. Do be careful not to catch cold yourself." The pupil never went out at night again. Basui wrote the following letter to one of his disciples who was about to die. "The essence of your mind is not born, so it will never die. It is not an existence which is perishable. It is not an emptiness, which is a weird word.
Buttery and toasted brioche bun.
It has neither color
cheese
nor
and
form.
steam melted.
It enjoys no pleasures and suffers no pain.
Top with Gruyere cheese and steam melted.
I know you are very
Once
ill.
those cheesy buns are nice and
Like a
melted,
good Zen
they
student,
slide them
you are
onto a
facing
tray.
that sickness squarely.
They stack those smashed beef
You may not know
patties
exactly
and slide them
who
on
is
top of that
suffering,
bottom bun.
but
But
question
it's not
yourself,
over yet.
what
Salted,
is the
prime ribeye
essence
gets
of
grilled,
this mind?
top with au jus,
Think
drenched
only of
provolone
this.
cheese.
You will need
Slid
no
on
more.
top of those beef patties.
Covet
On
nothing.
goes that cheesy top bun.
Your end,
It
which is
gets served with
endless,
more au jus to
is as
dip
a snowflake
and tater tots.
dissolving in the pure
This is
air.
the French onion burger with added prime ribeye from Tony Beef in Galloway, New Jersey, and it needs to be
A Zen master named Isan asked a young student to bring him a pail of water to cool his bath. The student brought the water,
These
and after
smoked
cooling the bath,
carnitas
threw
fried
onto the
plantains
ground the
need to
little
be
that
on
was
your
left
New York
over.
City devour list. They
You
take out two
dunce, the master
smashed
scolded
fried
him.
plantains.
Why didn't you give the
They
rest of the
chop
water
up
to
their
the plants?
juicy smoked
What right
brisket
have you to
carnitas
waste even
to
a
look
drop of
like
water in this
this.
temple? The young
They
student
slam
became
down
Zen
two
in
balls of
that
that
instant.
chopped meat onto
He
those
changed his name
tostones.
to
They drizzle them
Pekasui,
with their
which
cilantro
means
avocado
a drop
sauce.
of water.
Top them with pickled onions and cilantro.
Tosui was the Zen master who left the formalism of
Finally,
temples to
to the
live
one
under a
and only
bridge with
Bar
beggars.
Barbecue in Brooklyn, New York.
When he was getting very old, a friend helped him
These
to earn
smoked
his living without
carnitas fried
begging.
plantains need to
He
be on
showed
your New York
Tosui
City
how to
devour
collect
list.
rice and
They take out
manufacture
two
vinegar
smashed
from it.
and fried
And Tosui
plantains.
did this until he
They
passed
chop
away.
up their juicy. This hot
While
chicken
Tosui was
Caesar
drinking
wrap
vinegar,
needs to be
one
on
of the
your New York
beggars
City
gave him a
devour
picture of the
list.
Buddha.
They make some fresh Caesar
Tosui
salad
hung
with
it on
plenty
the
of
wall of his
Caesar
hut
dressing.
and put a sign beside
They
it.
chop up
The sign
sweetheart
read,
chicken tenders.
Mr. Amida Buddha,
They
this
mix it
little
all
room is
together
quite
in that
narrow.
bowl.
I can let you
They
remain as a
pile it
transient,
onto their house
but
baked
don't
naan.
think I'm asking you to help me to be reborn
They
in your
drizzle on their
paradise.
signature fluffy sauce. They grate some Parmesan cheese on top, and they fold it up.
Shoichi was a one-eyed
This
teacher
is the
of Zen,
hot chicken Caesar
sparkling
wrap
with
from
enlightenment.
Fluffy's Hot Chicken in the
He
Lower East
taught his
Side.
disciples in Tofuku Temple. Day and night, the whole temple stood in silence. There was no sound at all. Even the reciting of sutras was abolished by the teacher. His pupils had nothing to do but meditate. When the master passed away, an old neighbor heard the ringing of bells and the recitation of sutras. Then she knew Shoichi had gone. Buddha said, I consider the positions of kings and rulers as that of dust motes. I observe treasures of gold and gems as so many bricks and pebbles. I look upon the finest silken robes as tattered rags. I see myriad worlds of the universe as small seeds of fruit, and the greatest lake in India as a drop of oil on my foot. I perceive the teachings of the world to be the illusion of magicians.
Moss Tunnel Network passed under the hospital. Wait, what? Where am I going to? The second line?
You didn't catch the so-called?
So-called? Where?
I'll read it again.
Oh, the Israeli military demolished the so-called Turkish hospital in central Gaza.
It's not even calling it a hospital. It's so crazy. I think because it's so used to saying so-called Palestinians, that slipped in.
Clubs or what have you, using the most lethal weapons known to mankind on civilians, terror raids, etc., etc. All of those crimes. They're being voiced in the same court against the other side. And that's what he actually said as such. There's no محمد لا تاخذ الامر لا تاخذ الموضوع يعني في البدايه بعد ابدا على خشمه في البدايه شد معاه بعدين خلاص تضحك على لانه
Allahu Akbar! The first 500,000 are going to Egypt tonight.
What was the question, man?
Oh no, we was just hearing your ad lib and when your boy kind of fucked.
Ben Atalar'dan yalan o.
Aa, çok güzel şarkı o ya.
دلم برات خیلی تنگ شده.
Bir şarkı olsun hangisi olur?
Sezen Aksu şarkısı olurdu. Hem güldürür hem ağlatırdı.
Hangisi olur?
saying behind the scenes.
Yeah. Like I'm not saying that he's doing it, but some of these people who try to. I feel like they're trying to control the masses sometimes, and not just the masses, but just the powers that are like watching them or something. That's how the game has always been played in the court, right? So he just was correct in that particular thing. As you mentioned, the majority of scholars, when they come and say about children in general, they're meant to go to heaven, especially the Muslim ones, and
Explain it to me. He just crazy. Oh, Dark, you watch Severance?
He probably does. I need to start season 2. I haven't started season 2 yet, but I do need to start it.
You guys watch TV?
Why?
Why? It's prime.
See, I don't make statements like that.
I need to watch Daredevil. I'm working on it.
I ain't gonna lie, Chad. That shit did sound like you had some like secret potion you were about to like drop on us, boy. Like I ain't gonna lie, it did seem like that, boy. I was ready for it. I was gonna say.
Okay, allegedly.
Welcome back to another episode of Low IQ Dumb People talking about nothing, wasting all their time.
Isn't it only a disaster if somebody gets hurt? Like if there's an earthquake, no one's around, nobody dies. Is it still a natural disaster? Isn't it like
If your question is insignificant and you're in a forest and there's no tree to fall down on your head, are you alive?
cocaine is a powerful drug?
Clown House is the modern day dopamine. You guys are just doping up in this room for dopes.
Troll alert. Troll alert.
Dopamine alert, dopamine alert, dopamine alert, dopamine alert.
Was that a real thing that he was saying, or was he trolling?
You're talking about Trump saying
I saw
that
that.
joining the Commonwealth might be a good idea?
I'm gonna invite him right now. I want to see what he says about that.
Well, be prepared because he's saucy about it. He's really snippy and nasty. He's really unpleasant and unhinged right now.
Let me invite Holly too.
Get Florida in here too. Florida's extremely grumpy too. So what I've read so far is that Blair Starmer, whatever, the UK Prime Minister, went to visit Trump in the Oval Office, and he extended him an invitation to meet King Charles with the possibility that King Charles will offer him a position as an associate in the Commonwealth. And some people are making the argument that Trump saying, sounds like a good idea, is tantamount to betrayal and traitor, and he should be impeached and removed immediately.
Interesting. So essentially, they don't like the idea of us basically going back into a kind of a kingdom of sorts.
But it's not even.
It's not. I did hear some of the back details. It's not quite again what it is. But go ahead, Monica. You keep going because I don't know everything.
Well, I found out about it last night around 9:00 at night, and they were like throwing their hands up and running around like they had chickens with their heads cut off. Hold on just a second.
So I did ping in James, so hopefully he'll show up here, because I am curious to see exactly what he's talking about, because he was going nuts in chat. He was like, flipping out on Trump, and if that was real, that'd be kind of funny. I'm curious what James has to say about that.
And so I asked Grok, I said, what are the consequences of the U.S. joining the Commonwealth? And let me go find that link. Because I'm like, I don't know. But, when the submarine with the wealthy guy imploded and everybody was a submarine expert, when the balloon floated over the country from China, everybody was a weather and balloon expert. When the astronauts were stranded on the space station, everybody was NASA qualified. So everybody has an opinion on this shit all of a sudden. I'm like, look, what I know from Schoolhouse Rock is that we have 3 branches of government. The head of the executive branch is in charge of executing the rules and the laws set forth by the legislative branch. I don't think Trump can join the Commonwealth, even if he really, really wanted to, and I don't think he really, really wants to.
So that's what I heard. Did he actually say that? That's what someone was debating. I think it was actually in your Chillism. Samoa was saying that never happened, right? Is that accurate? That Trump never said I would want to join you guys. It was something completely different. Do you know anything about that, Monica, or no? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he actually said. That's the problem. I gotta go look at it.
It seems like a good idea, or sounds like a good idea. I love King Charles. It's like flipping.
Yeah,
it was like
right.
Okay. First of all, it wasn't, and second of all, people have got to calm down. Trump throws things out there to test the waters. And then he sees how people react to it. And if the left and the never-Trumpers suddenly found a newfound patriotism, and they're going to say, hell no, we won't join the Commonwealth, we love our country, we need our independence, good for us. If it was a troll to make people realize how valuable our country is, then it's a win. If it's not a troll, maybe it was set out of ignorance. Then he needs to be educated. If it wasn't a troll and he knows damn well what he's doing, maybe it's a leveraging tool for the tariffs. I don't know. Exactly. But what I do know is he took a bullet for us July 13th, 2024. He's been ran through by lawfare, and he's been vilified for 10 years. So I'm not going to completely abandon him after one statement that I don't know why he said it.
Right. And I think you know what? I'll give him something though. Is there a chance that Trump is just as educated on this matter as people might assume? You know what I mean? That could be fair. I mean, I'm not going to say Trump knows everything, but I think he would know a little bit about the reason why we broke off and from the kingdom and got away from those folks. But I will give him a little bit that maybe Trump is not thinking. He's firing too quickly. And I'll tell you, Monica, I'm with you. I'm not going to be a person that's going to prosecute him that quickly. If what James Snyder is doing, what he said in chat, which I did see, and he rambled on for, 30 minutes about it the other day, not on stage, but in chat, or in the goo, he was going ballistic. So I invited him. We'll see what he says, but yeah.
Open mic, gentlemen. I am looking for the Grok synopsis of what's involved in joining. But the Paris Climate Accords, Matt, it's a group of paper from leaders saying what they're gonna do. And then China was like, we're going to still pollute. We're just going to pollute a little bit less. And everyone's like, yay! And it's like, what is that? What is involved with the Commonwealth? But some of these people on this app are making me pissed enough to say, let's join the damn Commonwealth. I'm sick of you guys preaching over us. You think your opinion has any value with me after the things that you've done to me? Are you serious?
So I had this discussion, and I was going to bring it up in this room, offline the other day. I know it's very rare that you have offline discussions. And I came to the conclusion that I think some people are making Trump more erratic by saying really dumb things, right? For the last 8 years, we just heard, well, I don't know, 12 years actually, but when we include Biden, not matter, but when people really say really dumb things about what Trump's doing, it probably makes Trump even more erratic. It makes him kind of go maybe a little off the handle. So why would you push someone to do erratic things with stupid stuff? I mean, what? I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something there. But to me, it seems like the narrative. Hold on, Ben. I think the narrative is pushing Trump to make them for the worst fears of the left. The things that they fear is what is pushing Trump. They're making them Trump like to push that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, to me, it just seems like if you don't want Trump to do erratic things, then don't do silly things around him or say silly things, you know, and make up stuff. But go ahead, Ben. I know you're going to say the opposite, but go ahead.
Of course, is he a 4-year-old or a toddler? Oh, you're making him do things. He's a freaking 78-year-old man, baby. I mean, he's erratic. Nobody's making him be erratic. I mean, but let me ask you a question. I know you're rating his presidency. Let's take one aspect of his presidency, this whole freaking tariff shit that he's doing. What do you rate it? Is it going well or going bad?
Wait, you're talking about this presidency so far?
No, the tariffs that he's doing.
That was brought up earlier. I have no problems with the tariffs. So you're saying what the rating is? Okay. I'll give you a B+. I won't give it an A because I don't really know.
Well, what happened?
Down. But go ahead. What's the problems with it? Go for it.
No. I think that tariffs could be a good thing if it's thought out well. I feel like Trump's ego plays a whole part in how he acts and reacts to stuff. This whole tariff, I think, the ego thing for him. He knows he has the biggest trumpet. He has the most powerful outfits in the world. He just wants to throw his mind around. He probably would dream about putting tariffs on, let's say, Kazakhstan tomorrow. And he'll wake up and be like, I'm throwing a 25% tariff to Kazakhstan. He doesn't think through any of these things. I feel like, do you notice how the Chinese, they keep quiet about their whole acts or what they want to do? I feel like they're sitting on a drawing table, on a chess table, playing 4D chess, while Trump is playing checkers with his whole tariff. He could wake up to and be like, I'm throwing 300% tariff in Canada. And the next day he'll say, I'm pulling it back. And I don't know if in his first term, all he used to talk about was the stock market. Even before he got into office, all we would hear is, oh, the stock market is going up because they think Trump is going to win. Oh, the stock market is going up because Trump won. Oh, the stock market is going up because Trump is going to be swanning on January 20th. And he got swanning. He started this whole tariff, erratic tariff nonsense. And he's lost, the last I heard was $4 to $5 trillion in market value. Have you heard him count the stock market since it started? Because it's going to shit. This tariff is killing the market. Consumer confidence is at its lowest, and a lot of it is attributed to this whole erratic tariff economy shit that Trump is doing. Okay, so I'm sure. Let me just land. I'm sure that.
Okay, well, you made 3 points that you haven't substantiated yet.
Yeah.
Okay, what do I need? I've made points of tariffs only. What do I need to substantiate?
I didn't hear. What did you say?
You said I made 3 points that I need to substantiate. My only points have been on tariffs. What do I need to substantiate?
Consumer confidence is what? What's going on with consumer confidence?
At its lowest. People think there's a recession that's going to come through.
Consumer confidence is at its lowest since when? It's its lowest of all time? It's its lowest in 5 years? What are you doing?
I will pull up the data. Monica, chill. I'll pull up the data. Is that the only one you want me to pull up? Or is there something else? How much is lost in the market since he started his...
Okay, Ben, we're going to break this down, okay? We're not just going to, do that game. So, do markets go up and down? I'm just going to yes or no questions today.
Yes, it does.
Is the market going up right now?
No.
Okay, last I checked, it's rebounded from what happened. Okay, so
what was the market? Oh, baby, let's do a dialogue. What was the market when Trump joined? What was the
I have no idea because I know markets go up and down. That's my point.
But it's gone down significantly now.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, it went down under Biden too.
And why did it go down? Why? What was the biggest contributor to it going down?
You don't know either.
It wasn't anything natural that happened. It wasn't anything sudden that happened.
It wasn't the tariffs. No,
it was.
You cannot.
Dude,
No way.
go back and look at the graph.
There's no way you can say it's the tariffs.
Matt.
And by the way, we can talk about
I implore you, go and look at the graph. The day he announced the tariff, 2 days after that, the market dropped 2,000 points. The Dow dropped 2,000 points.
There was everything because of the. There was other things.
No,
it wasn't just the tariffs. That was only one part of it. Yeah,
the market was doing good until he announced it. The morning he announced it, it dropped 1,000 points. The next day, it dropped 1,000 points because everybody was panicked. Nobody knew what direction he was going to go. So what else could have added to that?
It doesn't really, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because markets go up and down, and it's well known that we're told that there's going to be short-term pain, long-term gain. That's already been stated.
That's not what he said. That's not what Trump said. Elon might have said.
Elon said that. That's fine. Elon is
the president.
I don't really care. I don't care. Yeah, he can. I don't care. Anyways, also, by the way, I'm just going to also mention with the tariffs. Do you think allies in other countries, I guess like Canada, should be allowed to tariff us and not us the other way around, Ben? I mean, like,
who started the tariff? Dude,
no, there was tariffs before Trump.
If you go into a fight and someone punches you in the face, are you just gonna sit there and let him punch you again?
Wait a minute.
You threw a tariff.
Wait a minute. What's been happening is Trump hasn't been throwing any punches. This is even before Trump was even around. There was tariffs on us.
Trump woke up one morning and said, I'm going to throw a tariff 25%. Is it? Yeah, 25% on Canada, 25% on Mexico, and 10% on China. It wasn't thought out. Dude, if Canada had been throwing tariffs enough, he could come out and preface it. Oh, okay, this good here, Canada has a tariff on this good here, Canada. Because of that, we're going to throw a reciprocal tariff on him, on that. Not just coming out and throwing a blanket tariff on Canada, then 2 days later, pull it back. 3 days later, say he had a discussion with Mexico.
It's still
He's been pulling it back and forth, and that is what has been rattling the market.
Ben, so check this out. If you're a country that's been punched in the stomach multiple times for years, what do you expect the country to do but punch back eventually?
That's why the market's on the shitter. That's why the market's on the shitter today. Because of his dude, look, hear what I said.
The market and the economy are two different things, though, because for the middle class and the lower class, the inflation during the Biden administration basically wiped out that level. So, you got the stock market, that's a whole different thing, separate from what affects most Americans. And most Americans were getting absolutely destroyed and punished through the inflation and everything that Biden did when he took away the transportation system, took away the oil. The transportation costs go up. The cost for everything goes up. The cost of food goes up. And it's not what they say, 3% a year, overall 8%. It's like 70, 80%, 200% rise in grocery prices across the board over a 4-year period. While this inflated fake market in the stock market continues to grow, while most of the country is getting punished. And now, the market has been going down, and I agree with you that Trump's, words and ego comes into play sometimes. I wish he would just be quiet sometimes and not really stick his finger in that wound and push. I don't like how he does that sometimes, but overall, the message that he's saying is true. The inflation was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm almost 50 years old, and I do all the shopping for my family. And I could see the prices of absolutely everything go through the roof in just a few years. And we can't continue down that course. I don't know if everything he's doing is the right way, but we have to try something different.
Exactly.
And Tony, I would agree with you. The Wall Street and main market are totally different pieces. But let me ask you a question. Trump, I believe what won Trump. I'm a liberal, so from a liberal glasses, I believe the two things that won Trump the presidency is immigration and the economy. Him touting being the economy king during the campaigning, I would think that once he started his presidency, he would start. I mean, his main discussion would be how to put the economy back on track and inflation back on track. But he started his presidency with culture wars. Oh, DEI this, DEI that. Or change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. How the fuck is that going to help?
I don't know why he did that. I don't get that.
So what? My beef with him, and I have a lot of. Tell me, maybe question for you and Matt and any other person on the stage. Tell me one significant thing he's done to tackle inflation, outside of doing shit to boost, like to suit his ego. Tell me one thing he's done to tackle
Inflation is going down.
It is called Doge. Do you not go to X and look at Doge? You can see $100 billion right now. Your statement is stupid and ridiculous. Apparently, you don't read anything. You just come here to talk.
So did they give you part of that $100 billion, doctor? Yeah.
Look, if he opens up the pipelines again and the transportation costs start to come down dramatically, then that should affect. Now, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with some of these companies. I mean, sometimes it seems like there's something going on that we don't really understand or know about. You know that there's a big group in Washington and amongst some of these businesses, they just hate Trump no matter what. It seems like no matter what he does, they want to try to cause problems. So if everybody would kind of work together, and instead of just this orange man bad mentality where even when he does things that are good for you, you still despise him and hate him and refuse to even help yourself because you just don't want to agree with him no matter what. And since that's not ever going to end, it seems like there's going to be constantly this big fight amongst each.
Welcome to politics. Do you think politics starts and stops? No, it just keeps going. Like this guy, Ben. People just keep talking and creating content and distributing it on all platforms to spam you.
You'll be surprised at one thing I agree that Trump is done or is trying to push. The whole transgender and men and women's sport, transgender in women's sports. I've never been a fan of that. I think it's idiotic. I think it's unfair. I think that if you want to create a space for a guy, trans, supposed lady, create your own transgender sport. Create your own integral. I don't have I think it's unfair for a guy to go and play.
Before a bite off a man cheeseburgers, you predatory ass niggas in here trying to feed titty type shit. I need 2 extra hands so I can get them titties from thumbs down.
Well, we got 1 million participants.
Use that as a preface. I'm not.
Oh no, that is exactly what you do.
Listen, I'm not using it as a preface. It's a fucking fact.
Sure, but and that's the only reason why I have.
What do you mean by that? Look. Who is running all the world's kidney trafficking all across the world right now?
See, this is where it gets.
Who is it? Hey, no. Oh, conspiracy? Would you like me to show you each and every major company that they've already caught? And they all.
Alright, now I literally am pulling up to where I'm picking up my kids, so I gotta go.
No.
I hope you've all enjoyed this.
You see what I'm trying to say? Oh, now it's a conspiracy when I can pull you the evidence that says it. It makes no sense. That's cowardly, bro. You're running.
Honestly, my last thoughts is, and I say this to the mods, I normally am pretty fine with a lot of Jew stuff. Hey, I literally am picking up my kid 30 seconds right now. I lost a little respect. I'm saying this out loud. I lost respect for this room today. Goodbye.
Of course you did. How about the child trafficking rings? Would you like the evidence and who they're catching at the head of all of it?
You'll have another topic.
I was in the kind of discussion.
It's just some cowardly shit, man.
That could have been
shit. If you have people who are listening, there was some really good historical shit there. I mean, not 100% accurate, but he said some real cool shit. And I do think this is where you guys go wrong when you guys say Rome. It's the Byzantine Empire. It wasn't the Western Roman Empire. And also lying. There's the Jews been in Rome since 1st century AD. There's evidence for them. They've been around for a minute, bro. They were
Regardless
in Spain.
where they're
Even,
from. Does that
hold on.
behavior?
That's not. I'm not talking about the behavior. I'm talking about the history. Because a lot of the time, you
The
guys
behavior is
label
theirs.
all of this stuff respectfully, bro. Right? And I think a lot of the time, you guys don't take, people migration and the history into consideration, and this is why you guys go wrong so many times. There is evidence of the Jews being in Spain way before Jesus Christ. Right? There's history of the Jews being in what we call Mauritania way before there was a Jesus Christ.
The Jewish word.
I don't know, man. I think Dewey pulled off a rap one today.
I just want to say this, the issue with things that are not truth is that it now goes in contrast with things that are truth, right? And so when you apply this throughout history, now you have to start redefining a bunch of people. And I think that it's curious the amount of people that have to be redefined in this Marvel Cinematic Universe to make Lion the protagonist, right? And it's just the same, right? Has to be the Native Americans, has to be the Zasarians, has to be everybody, right? Just to be like, oh yeah, and I'm the chosen one. I'm just saying, it's weird. And even certain Hebrew Israelites have the One West policy because they realize, or the One West ideology because they know it's a little bit too far. But it's just weird. It's everybody is wrong, but that really attracts a certain group of people. Certain groups of people really like betting that their contrary perspective gives them value. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's not an argument, right? That's just
Therefore, it's
It is an argument. It is an argument.
Many of the contrarians jumped off Mike to disagree with you.
Wait. I think concrete arguments are fake.
I don't disagree that you can say this about people, but the issue is just a blanket accusation without actually refuting a point is not an argument.
Wait, I am refuting something. I am refuting.
No, you haven't.
I said.
One second, sir. What you do is you actually present. Thank you. Counterpoints, right? Saying it's too much to believe is an argument from incredulity, right? And we know that that's a logical fallacy. But so if you think you're making a fallacious argument that's not fallacious,